Let's see. Hello, everyone. It's dark in here again. Thought I would just do a live stream because I haven't really had much time to Hey, I'm gonna turn the light up. I can't believe it's so dark in here. Let's leave that while. Okay, that might be a little better. Seems like when I'm on Restream, it's a little darker than the other thing. Hey, B Tron, what's up, everyone? Hey, Joe Crowd Dogs. Hey, it's like I'm so busy with the trade business. I thought I would just tell everybody what's going on. Okay, the trade business is really about halfway over. You know why I say that? It's the second weekend in December. We've been having some really cold weather lately. Actually, on Friday, it got to toasty 25 degrees. My hands are just shot. You probably can't see them. Like the skin has gotten all cracked on my fingers. The problem is to cut the netting on the trees, you got to use a pair of scissors and you got to take your gloves off to do that. Um, the weather, it warmed up today here. We had a little snow yesterday. Figure nobody's doing. Hey, Larry Schulte, war's broken out. I'll tell you, I was reading Larry. I saw a few shows tonight for just a little bit. And Paul Begley was saying about how China's violated Japanese airspace. I'll tell you, things are not going good. I know that Thailand and Cambodia, they've been having problems for years. You figure the mainstream media completely ignores there's so many countries in South Africa engaged in civil war where you basically got little kids, with AK-47s killing each other. Look at it like this: it's basically a religious war. You figure there was a time when Pakistan was, they always had like border problems with India. Pakistan used to be a predominantly Buddhist country, and now it's a Muslim country. I remember reading a few years ago, in 1000 AD with jihad, 100 million people in India were basically slaughtered by jihad. I hope everybody's been doing good. I figured nobody's going live tonight. I didn't even really check on what was going on live on YouTube last night. With this trade business, it's like I enjoy meeting people. I'll tell you one thing I've learned this year. Every year we're getting more people from Philadelphia to come out and get a trees. There's a lot of places around here that sell pre-cut trees, and they're so expensive. That's why I decided to raise prices this year. Anybody wants to look up Buster's Tree Farm? They're a few miles from us. They're charging $95 to $195 for their 6 to 8 foot tall pre-cut trees. A lot of the people that buy their trees are local. I'm getting a lot of people, young people in their 20s, 30s from Philadelphia, and I'm starting to see that more of them are Trump supporters. They're young people coming up in life, and a lot of these people are, blue collar working class. Some teachers, I met a guy yesterday and his wife. It was their first Christmas tree since they got married. Um, the younger guy, he was really nice. He was a music teacher in Philadelphia, and he tries not to discuss stuff with the older teachers that are all woke. Let's see. What is it? Yeah, Jack Harold Dodds. My wife went out today. Actually, she went to the dollar store, and the Dollar Tree doesn't even have skin cream. She had to get everything at Ollie's Outlet. She decided to get Holly a new water bowl, the old plastic one that she had when she was young. There's black stuff growing on the side, and you can't even get the thing clean anymore. Well, I know Beach Armory, Pennsylvania is too far away. You figure we're over 500 miles away. I'm not sure how many miles it is to get to where you are in Florida. Tell you, the people this year, I tell you, some people are optimistic. One thing I've noticed, it's just like other years, the people that are for the left, they're down in the dumps again. It's like it's Christmas. Politics shouldn't really matter. And some people, okay, it's like this. Years ago, when it comes to people buying a tree, we charge by the foot. And years ago, my wife made these cheat sheets. I don't know if you can see one. It has the prices on it. People are amazed that I know the prices. By this time of the year, they're memorized. Just take the cheat. The biggest problem is when you get your pockets full of money, trying to find where the cheat sheet is. So I put the cheat sheet in my. This is why I like pocket T-shirts. You can put the cheat sheet in your pocket and have it there handy with your reading glasses. Because it was time to figure out the price with the sales tax. Yeah, I know a lot of people are getting artificial trees. You know, what's going on on YouTube? There's some people that used to do a lot of live shows that I haven't seen anymore. And you know what? It's like some people just get tired of what's going on. I'll tell you one thing though. A little earlier when I was on the computer, I started watching stuff like from The Price is Right. Everybody remembers that. When I was a kid in the summer, I enjoyed watching The Price is Right in the 70s because you figure you're a young boy, you're curious, you would get to see the Parkinson sisters wearing their swimsuits when The Price is Right. So that shows you where mine was back in the day. And I forgot about that brand of, everybody remember Tappan Appliances? They went out of business in 1992. I remember seeing Tappan refrigerators in people's houses. And speaking of appliances, I'll tell you a story. Our Hot Point dishwasher died a few weeks ago. It wasn't even quite 4 years old. My wife ordered a new one from Home Depot. They came to install. Well, first of all, they're going to take out the old dishwasher. Well, the two employees from Home Depot refused to do it. They said, "Well, we don't know how we're going to replace the drain pipe." Well, it goes behind cabinets and turns. Other people have done it before. Then they said, you don't have a flexible copper line. We can't install a straight pipe that's bent. So basically, they basically canceled the order and gave my wife a refund. After Christmas, I'm going to have to get my plumber to come and hook the thing up. And my wife got that Suave skincare Joe Carroll Dodds. There's two problems. This cold weather we've had has made my skin crack. My wife, I told her like her back's bothering her again. She's staying inside. It's just Holly and I manning things. It's not too bad. Between the cold weather, then I don't know if anybody's ever seen one of those portable tree balers. The portable tree baler, you pull the tree through it, and it has this plastic netting to cut. Well, the only way you can cut this netting is, really is with your hands. I have to take my gloves off and use a pair of scissors. And we're selling so many blue spruces, my hands are just getting cut to shreds. It's the cumulative effect of doing it. I think right now, because we're in the month of December, a lot of people are just busy. It seems like I remember past Decembers where people just aren't doing as many live shows as they used to. Some people, I hope Craig's doing okay because I know he took a break. Then I was surprised he came back and did stuff with Cola and Count Yorga. And I told people before I was watching reruns of Dark Shadows on Pluto TV. You know what dawned on me the other day? Well, my wife never watched it because the age difference. It wasn't on when she was a kid, really. They never had any Christmas episodes of Dark Shadows. Even though it's a gothic show, they never had any Halloween episodes because it was almost like Halloween all the time, being a real spooky gothic soap opera. And actually, Joe Carol Dodds, I get all of Holly's dog food at Tractor Supply. I get her the 4Health beef brand because that agrees with her sensitive stomach. Then today, I saw when my wife was out, somebody had a rescue dog. You could tell it was mostly German Shepherd. This little dog was so cute. They just got the dog a few weeks ago. It looked like a purebred German Shepherd, but it wasn't. They weighed 25 pounds. That would be really neat to have. And I was sad. There was a customer that's been buying trees off of me. They had a 9-year-old German Shepherd that died in July. That's way too young. The poor dog had stomach cancer. They had it at the vet several times. It's kind of wrecked their holidays. Their they're younger than my wife and I, probably in their 40s. They hope they can find another German Shepherd somewhere soon without spending a fortune. You figure when you lose a pet like that, you're losing a family member. And I've been trying to get Holly. Holly is in the cage right now sleeping. Friday, I brought her around. We weren't really busy Friday because it was so bloody cold. I'll tell you, my fingers are the skin is so cracked. Just putting the skin cream on her, just washing my hands at her. What are you going to do? It's part of the business. It's the business I chose to be in. And tonight I tried to look up a little about what's going on with that Atlas 3i Comet. I'll tell you one thing because I only see people most of the year until this month, and I have to be, you know, very charismatic, I have to put on the charm. Actually, I had a customer giving me a review, and she's bought a tree before with her husband, and she said I was very charming. I was a little disappointed it was only a 4-star review and not a 5-star review. But the thing is, like I said earlier, I see more people that are optimistic about the economy. It's going to take a while for things to turn around. I found out talking to people. I'll tell you, it's a shame. Pennsylvania, we have the second highest gas tax in the country, thanks to the last Republican governor, Corbett. Around here, gas is still like about 3.25 a gallon. I've talked to people and looked up stuff online. Where my son's girlfriend came from, Maryland, gas is 2.85 down there only. It's cheaper in New Jersey. It's cheaper in New York State. One thing I noticed a few days ago, we're gonna have to get fuel oil delivered. Fuel oil has gone down in price. It's only $2.99 a gallon. I think a year from now it's going to be even less expensive. And just what I've been reading through the week and looking at Truth Social, I think we're going to start seeing prices go down even more. Look at it like this: the GDP they say is about 4%. That is a record. When Biden was president, oh, it's 2%. 2% the economy is growing. With the inflation we had every year, we had a negative GDP. You figure inflation is down to barely 3% now, and I think Trump's going to get it down to closer to 2%. Look at it like this: silver might be $60 soon. Last I looked the other day, when I was in at lunchtime, when I had time to get on the computer for a few minutes, I saw it was at $58. And Joe Carroll does. If you put that stuff on your hand, does it come off washing? Because when I come in the house from handling cash, my wife's saying, you got to wash your hands. But so far this year, a majority of the people have been pretty nice. The last weekend before Christmas, the customers or shoppers, it's really an insult when you have a business and somebody comes up to you, oh, will you take this so much for a tree? The prices are set. Some people think when they come at the end, oh, I'm happy to get rid of the trees. Not really, because what I don't sell this year will be bigger and more valuable to sell next year. I don't know if anybody else is going live tonight, because I try not to go live when there's people that I respect go live. When it comes to other people, I don't care. Because if some people don't like what I say on my channel, I can't play the music because I could get a copyright infringement. If people don't like what I have to say, you know what I say to them? Do the hustle. Let's see how many people are watching right now. I'll tell you, with the kind of weather we've been having, I think we're going to have a really cold winter. I remember back in the early 90s sitting in the truck when I was involved with my sister selling cut your own trees and having to turn the heat on. I remember back in 1995, the weekend after Thanksgiving was above normal. Then the Friday before the first weekend in December, we had enough snow to plow. And then we had snow on the ground till March. The kind of weather we're having now reminds me of the stuff we had when I was a teenager in the 70s. And tonight I just decided to do a spur of the moment live stream just to see who would show up. Because I see there's a few people in chat, but I don't see 13 people are watching now. Well, does anybody think the economy is improving? Because I said before, egg prices have actually gone down. I see a lot more stores. When my wife does all the grocery shopping, We're seeing a lot more stores that have egg prices that are $2. And from what I've read the past few months, Beach Charming, Pennsylvania has some of the highest food prices in the country. And I feel bad for the families. I remember a guy telling me last year he couldn't afford a Thanksgiving meal. Well, you figure if you can get a fresh turkey for even 99 cents or frozen one, 99 cents a pound, having a Thanksgiving meal isn't really that expensive. I'll tell you, I didn't want to go into a detail because I had to watch what I say. But even where I live, I'll tell you a story. Last January, well, we have terrible mail service. Last January, the mail came and it was pitch black. I came in the garage, opened the electric bill, and I assumed it was our mail. We saw that it was the neighbor's mail. I came in the house and I said to my wife, our electric bill's like $360 to $380. Then one of our neighbors, my wife saw, I can't say the name of the person, one of our neighbors had, that high of electric bill. And my wife, because I didn't have my reading glasses on, my wife said, they only have to pay $60. Then I scrutinized the bill. I can't believe there's people that live out here in these kind of houses that have a capped electric rate. And once we got mail from that was addressed to the neighbor, it was in our box. I didn't open it up, and it had from what I figured out, it had to do with people being on the CHIP program. I'll tell you, I don't know how somebody that lives in a $650,000 house, according to the real estate websites, could have a government subsidized electric bill and be on food stamps. They had to change the program. Somebody can afford a house like that, and they can't afford their electric bill, and they can't afford their food. You know what? They should sell that house and go into a more affordable house. Then the other night, one night this week, there's a YouTube video about a guy, I forget his name, about getting a job. Everybody on there was going on about the rich aren't paying their fair share of taxes. And it's pretty, and all the comments I made, people ignored me. I'm thinking some of these really wealthy people, somebody that lives in the wealthiest people in this country, they live in New York City, they live in New Jersey, they live in California, they live in Illinois. If the wealthiest people are paying 37% in federal income tax, and they're paying their state income tax, which in some cases goes up the more you make, then if they live in a city like New York City, you have the earned income tax. Around here, I think it's almost 2% now. I forget what it is. They are paying over half their income in taxes. And these liberals, oh, it's not enough. They had to pay their fair share. I did a video last year, you know, about this stuff. You tell people what the facts are, they just tell you you're wrong. You figure, I think 1% of the population is paying 10% of all federal income taxes. I think the top 10 or 15% are paying 85%. You figure 48% of the minority people in this country are on government subsidized housing. I know because of where my wife and I used to live, the first townhome we got, the guy that started the complex, they have a lot of rental units. And if somebody's, from what I've read, the Section 8 housing, okay, the tenant's supposed to pay about a quarter or a third of it, I forget what it is. Well, if the landlord's getting $1,500 or $1,800 a month from the government and the tenant's not paying anything, they're happy because they're paying radically high prices for like a 2-bedroom, 1,260 square foot townhome. And it looks like this. Some of these people, nobody on YouTube is going to want to tell you they're on government subsidized housing. And if they're paying that little for rent, they're still not happy. They think it ought to be free. I can understand somebody that has a lot of, capabilities, mentally challenged, but I'm so sick of the general population that expects a handout. Who's paying for all this stuff? Our money. Just like, the 31 million people in this country on the food stamp program. I was looking up statistics. A family of 5 that lives in Philadelphia, you figure, let's say it's a husband and wife and 3 kids, or a woman that has 4 kids. I think they can get $2,044 a month if they make only 6,000 something. And unfortunately, you figure growing up when I was a kid, talking to my dad, he repeated the same stuff he heard from his dad. You figure, what did these people do before you had all these social programs? They found a way to get by. Family members took care of each other. Let's see what. Whoa, you got to. I'll tell you, they had to revamp the program. I'll tell you, I know a guy, Lenny Mortelli. This guy was paralyzed. He was, as a teenager, he broke his neck skiing. He didn't come out last year or this year. 2 years in a row, he got a trait. This guy finally was able to walk with a cane, and he's making half decent money doing computer work. I mean, there are people that are wheelchair bound that have six-digit incomes because they put their mind to work. If you're wheelchair bound, you ought to get something. Yeah, they go by what your income is. I'm just going by the stuff I've read. But you figure back when Johnson was president and Ted Kennedy was all behind this. This is when this all started, where actually the black population in this country had the lowest divorce rate. After all this welfare stuff came in, people don't realize all these government housing projects, the welfare, it's modern day slavery. It was created to keep the black Americans down, which is not right at all. If a black couple was married and they got divorced and she had no job, she could qualify for welfare. And the more kids she had, the more money she got. That's no way to run a country. And you figure a lot of the stuff in this country is already subsidized. Townships gets money. These townships get money for police departments, for the fire department. We already have socialism, and it's getting worse. And the thing is, I see people that are on YouTube complaining about their financial situation for years. If somebody is really good with computers, they could get a job. I know a guy who has my website, a friend of mine. He charges me $100 a year. He's making he's making all kinds of money with his own company doing stuff for people, and he's working for home. And his wife homeschools their daughter. And it seems like the people in the city get more money. I don't know why. Well, that with your situation, crying in the dark, I would look into that. Pretty soon I'm gonna have to sign up for Medicare. Now, I've never gone into detail what it takes to qualify, but just reading some of the conservative stuff on the internet with what Doge is doing, I think a quarter to one. You figure there were people. Look what's going on in Minnesota. All these kids of these Somali refugees that the Clintons brought in, they're all getting money for being autistic, and they're not autistic. Then the money's going back to be used for bad things that's going on in the world. One thing I can't stand is fraud. This country is just full of it. And you look at the foreign aid. I saw on Jesse Waters, Maxine Waters is behind in her taxes. Yeah, I think she's behind in her taxes. But look what she makes being a congresswoman. She's behind in her taxes probably because she's not getting her kickbacks. That's what I think. If I feel bad for needy people that really need help. But my whole point is the people that are getting this stuff fraudulently. I know of another. I know the family. The man retired at a young age. He had a problem with his neck. Years ago, I'll tell you, years ago, when my wife was a nurse starting out, it still happens. Somebody comes to the office and they tell the doctor, well, they have a sudden hearing loss. They need a letter from the doctor so they can, get on disability. And they do a hearing test. The audiologist does a hearing test, an audiogram, and she can tell the people are lying through their teeth. People are trying to get on disability and fake that they have a hearing loss due to a work-related situation. And that's where a lot of the problems come from. If people would just be honest, you figure there's so much money out there, and If we get rid of all the fraud, there'll be more money to help the people that really need it. Okay, crying in the dark. You know what? You're not too far from me. I'm in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. I haven't been up to Reading in years. You're probably familiar with the 422 bypass and Route 222 and Route 100 and all that area. And the thing with Philly, though, there's been a resurgence because I know a lot of people in chat aren't familiar with Philly. If you go down like Ridge Pike and go from Montgomery County to Philly, there's a lot of old homes in Roxborough, Manayunk, Mount Airy section where there's a lot of young people buying these homes that were built in the like 1910, 1925. And back in those days, they didn't even have insulation in the walls. They used newspapers. A lot of people I've talked to where they're basically tearing out the plaster walls, replacing the electrical wires, the water pipe, the drain pipes, the copper pipes for the water because they're wearing out, and even replacing some of the lumber and putting insulation in. And they're taking some of these houses because it had old-fashioned baseboard heat, and they're putting in, HVAC systems with forced air so they can get rid of window air conditioners. There's a lot of young people that live in the city area that, it's more convenient to live closer to the city if you're going to work in Center City, Philadelphia. But there's a resurgence in the young people that take these homes and basically gut them. Let's see this. Yeah, COLA came out and Medicare went up. Well, look at all the fraud they're finding with Obamacare and the alleged kickbacks. I hope we see a lot of people prosecuted. If anybody, you look at it like this: Obamacare made the cost of healthcare insurance go up from everyone. Now, crying in the dark. Before you had your injury, did you ever go up on the Appalachian Trail? I used to go up there a lot. Like north of Reading, is the Pinnacle and Pulpit Rock. I remember going up there in the 80s. We don't go anywhere now because of the dog and all the farm equipment we have here. Somebody could try to steal if they had the right key. Because if you go up to the up on the Pinnacle and Hawk Mountain on a clear day, you can see about 55 miles. Maybe one of these days we'll go back up there. But with this weather being the way it is, I'm trying to get Holly to stay in the house more. She wants to be outside. And I know tomorrow it's going to be about a high of 30, and she's going to have to stay in a little more. Actually, Joe Carroll Dodds, I was looking into that. I think, like, you have the Medicare Part A, then you have the Part B, and I think what I saw in there, if your income is less than like 200,000 a year, it's only 185 a month. Because I was thinking, I'm waiting. Well, I'm gonna have to see. I might see a doctor about my shoulder. I talked to people today because some longtime customers were asking me about how I'm doing. I said my shoulder's still bothering me, and I've talked to a lot of people that have shoulder surgery, and have told me they regret doing it. Actually, one guy, his dog drug him down this. He fell going down the stairs, and he injured his shoulder and tore something, and he had to have an orthopedic surgeon repair it. And the fact that my sisters are on Medicare, I got to find out some more from them. Port Clinton, I know that area. Eckville. Actually, the first time I went to the not Bank Oven Nub, the first time several friends of mine, we went to the Pinnacle. We parked next to the Port Clinton Gun Club. That's what I think it was called. And we saw signs for the trail because we looked it up beforehand because we had maps for the Appalachian Trail we got at an Army Navy store. We walked up a boulder field in the dark to get the Pinnacle. And I know where Port Clinton is. Actually, one time we parked where there's a parking lot around Eckville. And we went up there one time in the early 80s or there was a cloud burst, and any little, you figure that's all steep ground. We walked off the Appalachian Trail because it was thunder and lightning, and put our tarps on. Well, put our ponchos on. We had tarps, and we couldn't believe, like, little areas. We had to watch where we were standing because it was almost like little rivers going down the hillside, little creeks with the way the rain came down real hard. And I was talking to a few customers today that have been up there, and they said there's been some areas of the Appalachian Trail, I forget where, somewhere between, I guess, the Lehigh Gap and where Hawk Mountain is to the north of the trail, where they've had to like redo the trail. There's been a lot of bad stuff going up there. I think in the past few decades, there's been people missing, never found again. And if somebody was murdered up there, how are you going to find the remains? Okay, you actually have an extra plan because our income is so low that we qualify for the extra that helps with the prescriptions and glasses and a little bit on dental. I'll tell you, my dentist, I've been using him since my old dentist retired. He used to take kids in Pennsylvania on the health program. He won't even take Medicare. He said what the government reimbursed him for, it isn't worth it. He was telling me, I use Dr. Ryan Estelle. I'm on his plans for dental. Let's say you would get, this is, I've said it before on other people's channels. This is how it works. If you're a dentist, you got to sign a contract with an insurance company. Okay, let's say he charges 14. Figure dentists do have a lot of overhead. He has a mortgage on his property. He has yeah, the office manager. He's got a secretary. He's got to pay an accountant every month to do the payroll and estimate the taxes. Well, let's say he signs a contract with a dental insurance company, where let's say a porcelain crown he makes with his machine costs $1,400. He said the most he might get back is $500. Now, if I go there and get a crown, I've got to pay like 65% of it on my own with a check or credit card. I mean, it's a racket. My wife is a nurse, and the doctor's office she works for, the doctor basically was forced to sell out to an equity company because the guys in the company said, look, if you don't sell us your practice, you're not going to get any referrals. If you want to go to a specialist in this country, this is what my wife is sick of. You got to go to a family practitioner, then get a referral to see the specialist. It's the same thing. Okay, say you have to go to an oral surgeon to get a tooth pulled. Well, because of the protocol and the way the laws are, you have to have your dentist give you a referral to see an oral surgeon just to get a tooth pulled. Isn't that ridiculous? Well, one thing, my wife and I aren't on any prescription medicine yet. We got to keep our fingers crossed. Because unfortunately, I know a lot of people younger than me that have been taking high blood pressure medicine for years. Actually, a good friend of mine, he put our foundation in when we built the house. His son died during the pandemic. He had high blood pressure. He had an aneurysm on the brain. That is a sad way to go. I feel bad for anybody that lost their child. Let's see how many people are watching. I'm surprised more people aren't watching tonight. Yeah, because there were a few younger customers from the Philly area, because I told them I had a YouTube channel, and they said they might check it out sometime. I mean, under the point, I don't. If 100 people watches my channel or 10, it doesn't matter to me, because I try to learn from other people and pass on the things I've learned about farming. And I hope I can do all the stuff with Social Security online. And I think things are going to escalate with more indictments, hopefully soon. If you ask me, there's a heck of a lot of people ought to be indicted. They're going to have a problem because it's a liberal judge over Comey again. I can see that happening. I'll tell you that the two people I want to see, I'll tell you, the people the most I want to see to be indicted is Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, Adam Schiff, and Swalwell. And I still think if they keep getting these liberal jobs, I'll tell you, I think we're going to see some bad. Hopefully, it doesn't happen and they get arrested. But I fear we're going to see something bad happen between now and the midterms. I look at it like this, Joe Carol Dodds. Um, One of my family members, I know they're on prescription medicine. I was reading some stuff in the summer where if somebody is on, I was talking to my dentist about some of this too. If somebody is on Medicare and they use their Medicare plan to get a prescription, sometimes it costs more with the copay doing it through Medicare than if you just got a prescription from a doctor and went there on your own. You pay $12 for a prescription. What are the hubs? Scrub hubs are free. Script hubs are free. I'll tell you one thing though. That at the office my wife works at, she's the one that does all the prescriptions. The doctor says prescription. They find out which pharmacy it has to go to. One thing they always do is they always try to do it with generics because it's cheaper. You figure if somebody gets a name brand antibiotic versus you know the generic that's been out for years, it can be maybe a quarter of the price. In fair, I don't know if it's true, but I've been reading about how all these family practitioners were getting kickbacks. They have like basically a quota for so many vaccines, allegedly. And actually, I was talking to somebody we know on YouTube that was on that not the Jordians, that other weight loss drug, and even with their insurance, it was $1,000 a Ozempic. This person was telling me even with the insurance, it was $1,000 a month. And around here, there's a lot of pharmaceutical companies. I actually found out I feel bad for the guy. Merck Sharp and Dome is laying off a lot of people. I have one customer that's a retired pharmacist from Johnson and Johnson, and he said they're not really doing that good at all financially. And they're doing okay, but and another guy that works at another pharmaceutical company was telling me that in a few years, he thinks they're going to be making synthetic organs. Okay, for your husband, be charming. Well, I said to my wife, "What should I get the B?" And she says it's up to you. Because I know everybody's got a story out there when it comes to everything. It's like I hate going to a doctor. I haven't been to a doctor. The only doctor I've seen as of recently is the dentist, and 3 years ago the oral surgeon. Because the thing with my shoulder, I'll tell you, 35. I'm trying to think. Now maybe a little over 30 years ago, I threw my back out, and this doctor, it was killing me. He prescribed muscle relaxers. This guy told me when I was in my early 30s, I'd have to get out of this kind of work. And I know from looking it up and talking to people that have had shoulder surgery, if I went to an orthopedic surgeon, they would tell me to stop doing this kind of work. If I don't do the work here, it's not going to get done. I'll tell you, narcotics, when I had let's say it was a dental implant, the oral surgeon prescribed was it Tylenol with codeine, and it's like you go to get your prescription filled. They ask for your driver's license and everything. If it's anything with a narcotic, and the thing is, a lot of those old narcotic drugs should really be dirt cheap. Yeah, I wonder where everybody's at tonight. I saw that somebody I know did live last night, and I wasn't even really on YouTube for very long. But I do think once more the Social Security fraud. You figure there's Medicaid fraud going on, there's food stamp fraud going on allegedly. I th- what I think ought to be done is they got to get rid of that fraud. Then there will be more money available um, for every person. And I keep seeing things on YouTube over the past few months. Oh, people are going to get a raise in Social Security. I have no idea. And the thing is, if for people to get a tax rebate, Trump really can't do it on his own. And it's not that they're going to print money; they're going to take money that they already got from the tariffs and redistribute it to people that pay taxes. Then some people that haven't paid taxes are going to have a fit that they're not getting money back. It's basically like a rebate. You figure this, you get a rebate for something you purchased. Why should people that never pay taxes get a rebate? I'm so sick of like what's going on in this country where with AOC and Mandami, the government can't support everyone. What are they going to do next? Tell farmers you got to give tell the cattle farmers and chicken farmers you got to give this to a slaughterhouse. The government wants it for free. They don't get it. That's what socialism is all about. Look at it like this. At least the government doesn't try to get involved with the Christmas tree industry. The government has spent all this money doing research on GMO seeds. They're not going to spend any money doing it on Christmas trees. Because I know a few plant pathologists I've talked to over the years. Um, Basically, Ricky Bates at Penn State and Dr. Ed Chastanger at Washington State, where all the research they do with Christmas trees, it's all, I mean, it's basically funded by the university. But then you got to remember, some of these state universities, they get money from the government. Yeah, the only narcotics I've ever been on is the Tylenol with the codeine. Back in 2003, I threw my back out really bad. I was using the 3.8 gallon still mist blower sprayer to spray trichloroethylene fungicide on Douglas firs that had needle cast disease. I tripped over a stump. I was stuck in bed for about 2 days. My wife told one of the doctors what happened, and without seeing me, he was kind enough to write a script of muscle relaxer, and a few days of that really helped. But it was my own fault from falling. You figure it'd be like hiking in the mountains with a backpack with like 35 pounds of weight and falling and trying to get up. That's what did it to my back. I'm gonna check and see how long I've been on. I don't know where everybody's at yet. At tonight. Well, I've been on 40 minutes. I don't think Craig went on tonight. There's probably somebody on that we don't know is on. Because like during the day, well, it's hard to during a tree business. During the day in the summer, I'll get on the computer to see if I heard from my wife, check my emails, see if I heard from my son. And I'll just get on YouTube for a few minutes because at lunchtime, Holly, when she gets done eating, she's eager to go back to work. Well, because I said last time I wanted to do a live stream before, like, well, it's not the middle of December, but like I said earlier, this tree business is halfway over right now. You figure you got 4 weekends. 30 years ago, the big weekend for tree sales was the second weekend. And the way it is now, it, it's the weekend after Thanksgiving and that first weekend of December. But all this depends on the weather. Next weekend will probably be fair. I said before, I can't sell what I don't have. I mean, we still have a good supply of trees. And the only reason I talk about trees is because that's what I do for a living. You know, I'm going to be 65 soon, and I just enjoy doing this kind of work farming. There's no way I could sit still in an office and do any kind of work. My wife says I should have been a teacher like my father and grandfather were. Well, my dad got sick of teaching calculus and physics. But my grandfather, you know, he taught economics at Arsanis College from like 1924 to 1961. He enjoyed it. But the thing with the trees with him was just, it was more of a hobby that he loved. Because when he was a kid, he helped his dad, you know, grow crops down in Kentucky. Well, I'm gonna say goodbye in a minute here. Um, Thanks everyone for watching tonight. I'll be I'll do another show I think before Christmas. I just hope to God and pray that sudden bad doesn't happen in this country. With Look at it like this: what happened with those two National Guard troops? I'm afraid we could wake up one day and find something like that happen all over the country. And what really concerns me, look at it like this: unfortunately, most of the immigrants coming to this country aren't assimilating. You know what they're doing? They're colonizing this country. I think when more evidence come out that were people that came to this country under false pretenses became U.S. citizens, you know what I think the government ought to do? Revoke their citizenship and send them back where they came from. You figure I said before, about so many people are in government subsidized housing. Two-thirds of the immigrants that come here to become American citizens, they were on every social program known to man till the day they die. Trump is exactly right. I know people that think it's racist to say it. We need people to come in this country that are going to improve the country. We don't need people coming to this country just to bleed us dry financially. You figure it's American citizens first. I was talking to a customer today. He was saying about actually a young guy just became attorney, and he was saying a lot of people he's doing a public defender for. The guy moved here from California. He was saying a lot of these people that commit crimes, a lot of them, they're a victim of circumstances. They grew up in a bad household, or else they were someone that got on drugs. And I'll tell you, I'm the only Boswell that isn't a college professor going back a few generations. My grandfather taught economics at Arsanis College, Dr. James L. Boswell. Believe it or not, he was Milton Friedman's mentor. I remember hearing that name growing up. My grandfather debated other economic professors in the Mid-Atlantic area. He was completely against the New Deal. Let's see, you watch them. Yeah, I've already watched people's YouTube channels after it was over on TV. And let's see here. Okay, there's a lot of minutes. Because I mentioned before about the King is Coming ministry, Dr. Ed Hindson. I started watching him when I was in junior high. And I know some people thought he was a nutcase, but a lot of this stuff Jack Vanapee said 20 years ago is coming true right now. And I'll tell you, I'm really curious to see what's going to happen. Because I didn't get a chance to watch a lot of news. There was a 7.0 earthquake in Alaska yesterday. And every now and then, I got on last night. You know what? Yeah, that's what I was watching after my wife put to bed. I was watching Ron Tyler of Emergency Management Associates, and he said, according to the software he downloaded, it was much higher than a 7.0 earthquake. Because they showed a little on one TV channel where people's houses were vibrating, not just for like 30 seconds or a minute. There was like continuous shaking. Could this be the result of a real earthquake from the coronal mass ejections from the sun? Or could this have something to do with something the military is doing underground? Well, it's a little after 11. I probably overstayed my welcome. Thanks everyone for watching. Until next time, who knows who's going to go live when, because during Christmas, people are busy doing stuff, getting ready for the holidays. Okay, well, Everyone have a good night. God bless, and thank you for watching my channel.